This week on the CNET Tech Review, take a look under the hood of Apple's new iOS 5, hands-on with the new HTC EVO and the new HTC EVO, find out who's fastest in our tablet speed test, and I've got all the dirt on what really goes on at Area 51. It's all coming up right now. Hi everyone, I'm Molly Wood and welcome to the CNET Tech Review, where we collect our hottest videos of the week and tell you what's good and what's bad in the world of tech, plus offer some unique tech wisdom in the form of the bottom line. Let's start with the good. Between all of our coverage from E3 and breaking down iCloud last week, we didn't have time to tell you about the other big news coming out of WWDC, specifically all the new features we can look forward to in iOS 5. As we promised in last week's show, here's Kent German to break it down for you.
Hi, I'm Kent German, Senior Editor here at CNET.com. Today we'll take a first look at the beta version of Apple iOS 5. It will run on the iPhone 3GS, it will run on the iPad, and then it'll run on the iPod Touch as well. I'm going to start off with notifications because that's one of the more exciting ones. Luckily, Apple has taken a page from Android's book. Actually, of course, Apple does it differently by a pull-down menu. So you just take the top of the screen, you pull down, and you'll see all your notifications. You'll see missed calls, you'll see missed emails. Apple added a couple new things, though. You do see a current weather. You can see a stock ticker. So really nice to see those notifications, updates. It's just something Apple has needed to do for a while, and great to see it. Next feature is Newsstand. This is very similar to iBooks. Looks very much like the iBooks icon. You can go there, you can see all your magazines in one place, and then as new magazine subscriptions come in, so as new issues come out, they'll be downloaded to the phone automatically. Really nice there. To have better Twitter integration on iOS 5, you can tweet a photo straight from the photo application. So once you take a photo, you can do it all from the photo. So that's really nice. You can also do things like add a location, you can sync Twitter with your contacts list, and you can tweet directly from YouTube, Safari, and Maps. So nice to see there. We also have a new Reminders app. Now that enables you to do sort of like a to-do list, and you can put them all in one thing. They'll send you reminders as you need to. The reminders also can be tied to your locations, so that's a neat feature. Camera controls, a couple things you'll be able to do is you'll be able to, you can see grid lines when you're taking a photo. You can pinch to zooms, and then once you take a photo, you'll get camera editing features. Not a real extensive amount of these, but you can do things like crop, you can rotate, you can do red eye reduction. So nice to see there, and again, that's just from the photo gallery application. iMessage, this is a brand new feature. It's very similar to BlackBerry Messenger. So it's a free messaging application. You can do group messaging, you can send multimedia messages, so you can send videos or photos, and so just another feature to keep in contact and more for messaging. One of the best things is PC Free. This enables you to activate your iPhone and do software updates without plugging the iPhone into your computer. So that's a great thing. Inside the email, we'll have a few options. You'll be able to flag messages, you'll have a rich text format, among other things, better indentation, and the ability to drag addresses between your two CC and BCC line. Also, in the mail application, you can search within the body of emails rather than just the subject to and from line. So another good addition. Finally, in the Safari browser, you'll be able to add links to a read later list. Also have a reader feature that will strip down all the junk on a web page and just give it a nice clean format. Other things you will see is you'll get a split keyboard for the iPad, you get a revamped music app for the iPad. Also in Game Center, you can buy games directly from Game Center. Apple did say they will have 200 new features in iOS 5, so they only really went through 10 of them, and I mentioned a few of those 10 here. iOS 5 is a smaller update. Hopefully this sets us up for something bigger down the road and sets us up for a new hardware, maybe hopefully in the fall of 2011. I'm Kent German. Here are the first look at iOS 5.
Now, as Kent mentioned, Apple's promised 200 new features in this latest, smaller update. Stay tuned for Brian Tong's look at more of those hidden nuggets later in the show. Needless to say, iOS 4 running on an iPad 2 has plenty of good things going for it already, processing speed being one of them. But how does it stack up against a worthy opponent like the Galaxy Tab 10.1? Leave it to Eric Franklin to put them through their paces.
Hey guys, Eric Franklin here. I'm in the CNET labs and it's casual day apparently. I recently called the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1 the iPad 2 of honeycomb tablets, thanks to its thin form factor and clean design. But how does it compare to the iPad 2 in performance? I've come up with 3 new tests to find out. Cue the on-screen stopwatch. First up, web speed loading tests. We'll go to NBA.com to see how the Heat are faring. And they're off, and the Galaxy Tab is in the lead. The iPad 2 is up. Looks like the Galaxy Tab is about done. And the iPad 2 comes in right behind it. So there you go. Website loading speed test. Second speed test, downloading an app. We'll see how fast they download Angry Birds Seasons. Here we go. All right, and they're off. Looks like the Samsung Galaxy Tab is on the move. The iPad is on the move as well. They're both going pretty fast. Their iPad 2 is catching up. It looks like the iPad 2, oh, they're very, very close. It's going to be close. Very close. And the iPad 2 is done. Samsung is installing it, and now it's done. So Samsung Galaxy Tab, a few seconds behind the iPad 2 in app download speed. Now for our final test, Facebook photo upload speed. Each photo has been taken with its tablet's camera. And let's go. And they're off, and the iPad is done. The Galaxy Tab is now done. So a little bit behind the iPad, but didn't really make much of a difference. They're both really, really fast and both really, really close. Very close results. It seems the 10.1 is about on par with the iPad 2 in performance, give or take a couple of seconds. For more detailed test results, check out Crave. But until next time, stay frosty.
So let me get this straight. The Galaxy Tab 10.1 and the iPad 2 look alike, cost the same, and their performance is basically too close to call? I can't imagine why Apple and Samsung are accusing each other of copying in court right now. In other Android news, it was like the EVO fairy visited our offices this week. HTC graced us with not 1 but 2 new EVO models. See if you can tell the difference between them.
3D is a big trend in tech these days, and now it's making its way into smartphones. Hey everyone, I'm Bonnie Cha, and I'm here to bring you another look at the HTC EVO 3D for Sprint. We first got a glimpse at this Android smartphone during the CTIA Spring Show, and it's finally hitting store shelves on June 24th for $199.99 with a 2-year contract. It's the newest addition to the carrier's EVO line, and as you might have guessed from the name, it offers 3D features. First, it has a glasses-free 3D display. There's something called a parallax barrier that sits on top of the 4.3-inch QHD Super LCD and displays 2 different images, so you get that 3D effect without the glasses. You can use it to play 3D videos and games, and the phone actually comes preloaded with a copy of the Green Hornet in 3D and a trial version of Spider-Man 3D, the game. For some reason, we couldn't get the movie to play on our review unit, but we checked out some 3D videos from YouTube and also played Spider-Man. It's not going to show up in our video here, but it was pretty neat to see images popping out from the screen. There are also dual 5-megapixel cameras on back that you can use to capture 3D photos and video, and you can shoot 2D as well, and there's actually a convenient little switch here on the right side to switch between the 2 modes. 2D photos looked great, but the 3D pictures made my eyes cross since it was hard to focus on them and gave me a bit of a headache. Scott Stein, another CNET editor here, and I actually compared it to the Nintendo 3DS, which also uses the same technology, and we noticed that the 3DS offers more depth of field, so instead of objects just popping out, the image goes deeper into the background, which I thought provided a better 3D experience. It's all pretty fun in small doses, but 3D isn't the reason why you should get this phone. You should actually get this phone because it offers good performance and a solid set of features. The EVO 3D improves on the original EVO with Qualcomm's 1.2 GHz dual-core processor, and it also ships with a larger battery. Definitely noticed an improvement in battery life, and the phone felt very snappy. The smartphone is also running Android 2.3 Gingerbread and features the latest version of HTC Sense, which brings some great enhancements like the new lock screen. If I could add some things to my wish list, it would be more internal memory and slightly better call quality. But overall, I think the EVO 3D ranks among Sprint's best Android smartphones, especially if you're looking for the latest and greatest features. I'm Bonnie Chan. This has been your first look at the HTC EVO 3D for Sprint.
Hey, I'm Donald Bell, and today we're taking a first look at the HTC EVO View 4G. This is a 7-inch tablet running Android 2.3 and running on Sprint's 4G network. It's going to set you back $399 plus a 2-year commitment to a data plan which start at $34.99 a month. But if tablet contracts give you the heebie-jeebies, there's a Wi-Fi only version that sells for $499 called the HTC Flyer. Either way, I think the price is a little steep for an Android tablet that's not running Google's latest Honeycomb tablet OS. The EVO View is more or less just like a supersized HTC Android smartphone, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Personally, I like the way HTC skins Android with their own interface and this 3D design style, but I don't love it enough to pay this much, especially when most of the interest these days are with 10-inch tablets that are running Google's Honeycomb. The thing that really does make this tablet special is the Magic Pen, or the HTC Scribe Pen. Usually a stylus is a clue that a tablet is using a cheap, resistive screen, but this one is different. You don't need the pen to use the tablet. In fact, you can't even use this pen for navigation. It's really just here for taking notes and signing documents, which might sound dull, but the whole thing is very well thought out and includes integration with Evernote to store your notes online. For a limited time, Sprint is bundling this pen with the tablet, but if you want to replace it, it's still going to cost you $80. So expect that you probably will lose it because the round design here has a tendency to roll off tables. So that's the EVO View 4G from HTC and Sprint. Now, with all the great 10-inch Honeycomb tablets out there for under $500, it's tough to justify the cost. But if you have your mind set on a 7-inch tablet and the pen technology and the 4G wireless speeds sound like something you'll really use, the EVO View 4G could be the perfect fit. For CNET.com, I'm Donald Bell.
Well, all right, I guess that wasn't that hard, but there you have it. Thumbs up for the phone, thumbs kind of sideways for the tablet. Let's go ahead and take a break because we still have a lot more show to come. We'll be right back with more tech review right after this. Welcome back to the CNET Tech Review, our weekly video digest of all things good and bad we've seen here at CNET TV. Continuing on in the good. Since Apple showed it off last week, more and more of the hidden features of iOS 5 have been emerging. Brian Tong is up next with some secrets inside iOS 5.
Hey guys, Brian Tong here with CNET.com, and Apple recently announced some of the new features that we can expect to see in iOS 5 for iDevices when it's released this fall. But we have the developer version, so we wanted to show you some of the hidden features in iOS 5 you might not know about. Now, customization has always been one of iOS's weaker points, and they aren't bringing widgets, but there are other ways to trick out your phone. How about keyboard shortcuts? Go into General and your keyboard settings, and you can now create a shortcut you type in that will display a phrase to make life a whole lot easier. Apple's also improved the accessibility options that can be helpful for all of us. You can turn on the LED flash for alerts, but you can also turn on custom vibrations on your iPhone. Now, it's not what you think, so you guys can stop giggling. Now, go to Sounds and find vibration patterns. You have the ability to enter and use pre-made ones or create your own custom vibration by tapping on the screen for a contact that, is more important than others. Now, on the iPad, you can also use a custom gesture to open different menus on your screen by turning on Assistive Touch. At the moment, you can't assign it to unlock your screen or launch any apps, but it's probably coming in the future. And the multi-touch gestures we've seen from previous builds have returned in iOS 5. Now, Notification Center is one of the big revamps, and you can create the alert style if it's more important, the option to view it in your lock screen, and how many notifications show up at one time. You also have the option to purchase more ringtones or alert tones in the preferences. If you check out the Photo app, it allows you to create albums on your iDevice and also move photos into different albums. Safari, the web browser, has a nice option that allows you to open a new page in the background instead of interrupting the current window you're viewing. And the Weather app has a panel for your local weather instead of adding a new one for every city you visit. And for all you sketchy people with something to hide, you will now be able to delete individual calls from your call list. Plus, one of the biggest ones you can't see right now, iOS 5 supports 1080p video playback, which sets them up for better video output directly to TV sets and higher resolution displays for future iDevices. Now, there's plenty of other features buried in here, but we wanted to show you a few of them that you can expect to see in the fall. I'm Brian Tong with your first look at some of the hidden features in iOS 5. Use it wisely.
That local weather screen is pretty nice. It's such a drag to have to manually enter the town's name whenever you travel to a new location, especially if there isn't like a bank with a thermometer nearby. Ask your parents about that one. But first, let's see what's wrong with the world this week in the bad. For many people, driving a hybrid brings with it a feeling of satisfaction for doing one's part to protect the environment and slow down global warming. Well, I hate to break it to you, but if you're driving one of the cars on our top 5 list this week, I wouldn't be bragging too much.
Some cars do indeed get much greener in their hybrid version. Others are a different shade. I'm Brian Cooley with Top 5 Brownest Hybrids for 2011. Rolling piles of green wash that get barely better MPG than their conventional version and charge you plenty for that lack of improvement. We've ranked these guys by the scant difference in their average MPG over the non-hybrid version. And when there was a tie, we broke it by looking at tailpipe emissions and price penalty. So the hybrids that made this list are sort of dirty, piggy, and expensive. Not what you had in mind, is it? Let's do it. Number 5 is almost a caricature. It's the Cadillac Escalade Hybrid, one of the first cars that signaled this whole hybrid thing is going to get a little out of hand. It gets just 5 mpg better than a conventional Lade, but that's at least good enough for 21 mpg average versus a hoggish 16 on the straight gas engine model. But you'll pay $8,000 more for that lift. Number 4 is the BMW X6 Active Hybrid, that kind of coupe utility vehicle. Average MPG of 18, just 4 mpg better than a gas V8. And it sports a huge price bump, almost 20 grand more than the gas engine ride, while delivering the worst emission numbers of any car in this list. Talk about some inconvenient truths. Number 3 brings us another BMW, the Active 7 Hybrid. Just 3 mpg average, better than a regular 750i. Though to be fair, what this guy lacks in MPG improvement, it makes up in speed. It's really quick, like 4.5 seconds, 0 to 60. But I'm sorry, the regular gas engine 750's no slouch either. And for the extra 13 grand, you can easily soothe your ego with a really nice bottle of Chambol Musigny every time you lose a drag race. Number 2 on our list of the brownest green cars is the VW Touareg Hybrid. Get this, just 2 mpg better than a straight-up Touareg without an electric motor. And it costs 16 grand more. Presciently, VW calls this the rare beast in its lineup. And with numbers like these, my hunch is it'll stay that way. Before I take you to the number 1 brownest hybrid for 2011, let's restore your faith in the most hyped cars on Earth. Here's a list of some hybrids that do deliver stellar double-digit MPG gains over their conventional counterparts. Those guys will change your fundamental fuel outlay. Okay, the number 1 hybrid car that makes you mouth the word idiot when its owner turns away is the Lexus LS600 HL. Also just 2 mpg better than a non-hybrid LS460L, with a middling 20 mpg average, and for that you pay, sit down, $37,000 more. Oh, I know the equipment levels will vary between these models, but still, you could buy an entire Lincoln MKZ hybrid for the premium it takes to get a Lexus LS hybrid, and still have a couple grand left to go buy some carbon credits or something. Okay, if this whole piece has just backfired horribly and now you want to buy one of these dubious rides, head over to cars.cnet.com, where we have most of them reviewed. And for more top 5s like this, go to top5.cnet.com. I'm Brian Cooley. Thanks for watching.
Actually, I think the message is pretty clear there. Watch all the top 5s you want, but do not buy any of those cars. I mean, that Lexus thing ought to be a crime. In fact, while I go call the green police, let's wrap things up with this week's bottom line. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Brian Tong filled in for me while I went on a secret assignment. But now I can tell you all about it. I went with the CBS Early Show crew to interview the author of a controversial new book about Area 51. And I talked to some of the guys who worked there. So let's get straight to the crazy stuff, shall we? Area 51 wouldn't be Area 51 unless there was controversy and conspiracy. And Annie Jacobson's new book, Area 51, delivers both. She cites an anonymous source who told her a surprising story about the Roswell UFO and its connection to the mysterious Nevada military base.
Well, you know, what I write in the book has made some people uncomfortable because it's not reflective of what they want to believe the government does or did at Area 51. And in the end of my book, I reveal what someone told me, an engineer who was a source for me. What the source told me was that a flying disc really did crash in New Mexico. It was taken to Wright-Patterson, and then it did wind up at Area 51, hence the name Area 51. It went there in 1951. And that he was one of 5 engineers who reverse engineered that craft. It did not come from Mars, it came from Russia.
And Joseph Stalin apparently engineered this craft, sent it as part of a disinformation and fear campaign.
The craft is believed to have been built by 2 former Third Reich airplane designers named Walter and Reimar Horten. And they had the blueprints on this craft, and apparently Stalin got a hold of it and sent this craft as a means of a hoax a la the War of the Worlds.
And her source told her there were little green men inside the aircraft, but not the kind you think.
And this is the information that came to me from the source, who I absolutely believe, I stand by. I've spoken with him since the book has been published. And what he said was that the child-size aviators had been the byproduct of this horrific human experimentation program by Stalin in collaboration with the doctor from Auschwitz, Dr. Joseph Mengele. Eventually, my source told me we chose to do the same thing. And that upsets a lot of people, this idea that the United States government could have experimented on humans.
The allegations have shocked readers and some of the veterans of Area 51.
I can't conceive of it. That was not the atmosphere. We weren't that desperate at that time. I can't even picture Stalin being that desperate. But then again, people, they do crazy things sometimes in the interest of, you know, I just can't picture it. Because I would then be forced to say, I don't want to be part of it.
We don't know. We can't, you know, it's just a personal opinion. Everybody's got their own opinion about certain things.
And for me, it's completely plausible because I looked at the entire landscape of Area 51 and that need to know and the compartmentalization of secrets. And I believe that something like this, a rogue program, could have happened.
Area 51, says Annie Jacobson, is a story of incredible feats of technology, but also a story about a place far out in the Nevada desert with hardly any oversight and hardly any rules.
We had no bosses, you might say. We were top of our field, and there wasn't anyone superior to us. And we reported to no one except the customer.
I rather see it as a clear progression of what can happen, because one of the themes that I write about in the book is, using the Lord Acton quote, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Some of the men in the book show great moral courage no matter what, and I write about that. These are America's cold warriors. But what I also write about in the book is a number of men who experience a downfall when power sort of overwhelms them and you have the old archetype of hubris taking over and they push things too far and there's very serious repercussions. Remember that Area 51 was set up to push military, science and technology faster and further than any other nation. That is what we did. And the Rogue program is an extension of pushing science over the edge into black science or wicked science.
Now, since we interviewed Annie Jacobson, T.D. Barnes, and Jim Friedman for this piece, controversy about these allegations has continued to grow. The Roadrunners, the group of Area 51 veterans that meet to talk about their experiences there, now say they feel blindsided by the story, and they've emailed us to try to discredit the tale. What would you hope would come out of this?
Well, I would hope that people would read the whole book and be able to make that judgment for themselves at the end, because everyone gets to have an opinion about whether or not they believe the veracity of my source, as I do. And if it is even remotely possible what he said happened, then there are questions to ask about black operations at Area 51.
One thing is clear, and probably always will be, very few people will ever know the whole truth about Area 51. The bottom line this week? God, I love a conspiracy. I gotta say, there are plenty of people who are shocked and outraged by the allegations in Annie Jacobsen's book, but I, for one, am with her. Read it for yourself and draw your own conclusions. Because let me tell you, it's a hell of a read. And head over to CNET.com for other videos in our series about how to get to Area 51, or as close as you can get, and a video on all the cool tech and inventions that came out of the place. All right, folks, that's our show. Come back next week for an all-new CNET Tech review. Until then, there are tons of great videos available every day at CNETTV.com. I'll see you next time, and thank you for watching.